How did the Beatles get you into meditation? I want to take you back to, you're single, living in New York City, get set up on a blind date. Tell me about it.
Well, my wife was from Spain, and she came over and didn't understand too much English. And I had a friend of mine who was dating a close friend of hers, and we got set up, and there was magnetism, and we saw a lot of each other, and the language thing didn't stand in the way of the connection, and so we had that connection, and it then led to our relationship, and it's now something like 42 years later.
As time passes, obviously, how do you get past the language barrier?
Well, it starts with romance, and then she learns more language, and you get past it. And
You've obviously had a lot of success in your professional life. How have you figured out how to have the time in your personal life to also have success there?
well, my personal life, my relationships, who I love, and is paramount importance to me. I would take my kids when they were little kids on trips. We'd go to China, and we'd go to on business trips, and it was great. I found a lot of ways of mixing them together, and then giving them each their own time. Because I think the key, a lot of people face the work-life balance question. And I think that they view it largely as a trade-off. And of course, it is a trade-off. But if one learns how to get more out of an hour, you can have much more in your life. So the capacity of how to squeeze in as much life into life, that's a skill.
I've learned a lot from Ray about prioritization and his 80-20 rule. Anyone, whether you're a leader or not, can spend 100% of your time doing little things, but not doing the most important things. So spending most of your time on the 20% that is really critical makes such a huge difference, as opposed to filling your time with all the things that can either be delegated or postponed, but are not going to be critical for the business.
I meditate. I do transcendental meditation. I've done that for over 50 years. And I find that gives me an equanimity and a creativity that allows me to navigate these things better. So it's really that, because the work-life balance question is one of the big questions that everybody faces.
How did the Beatles get you into meditation?
Well, the Beatles went over to India, and they meditated, and then they set up Transcendental meditation, set up these schools. There was one in New York. I was, I think, 19 years old, something like that. And I wanted to learn. And so I went to the school, and that has had a fabulous impact on my life, because the brain is in layers. In other words, there's a conscious part of our brain, and then there's a subconscious and an unconscious part of our brain. And what meditation does, by giving a word called a mantra, it's a sound really, and you repeat that in your mind, it gets you out of your conscious brain. Normally, you can't sit there and say, I'm not going to think. You'll think. By doing this little brain exercise and repeating that sound, you don't think about ideas, and eventually the sound disappears, and you transcend into the subconscious part of your brain. that's where creativity and equanimity come from. So the creativity, you know, like if you want to be creative, it's not like you consciously muscle your creativity. It's more like, you know, you take a hot shower and a great creative idea comes to you because it bubbles up from that part. And it also gives you the calmness to be able to look at all the things that are coming at you. It's almost like in a ninja movie. Everything just seems, you know, panic. It's coming at you. You're dealing with it. It gives you that equanimity. So I started back then, and it has, you know, given me a lot of those types of things that have been invaluable. One of the most valuable things that ever happened to me.